This is Algebra 2, test number 8 through lesson, this says 5.1. We got through lesson 2.4, study guide. Number 1 says find the point slope form of the line passing through these 2 points. Well, we're looking for the point slope form, and we have 2 points, but we don't have a slope. So what we need to do is we need to find a slope value. So remember, slope, or the m, is the change of y, or y sub 2 minus y sub 1 over the change of x sub 2 minus x sub 1. So if this is x comma y, remember it's in alphabetical order, and this is x comma y, again in alphabetical order. This is sub 1, and this is sub 2. So we just go by the formula. Y sub 2 is this one here, negative 4, minus y sub 1 is this one here, negative 1, over x sub 2 is this one here, negative 2, minus x sub 1 is this one here, negative 1. Remember, anytime you have minus a negative, it means plus a positive for those. So you have negative 4 plus 1 for the first one, which is negative 3, and negative 2 plus 1, which is negative 1. Negative 3 divided by negative 1, anytime you have a negative divided by negative, you get a positive 3. So your slope value out of all of that is positive 3. Most of you don't have to do all of that to get positive 3 out of that, but just in case you do, that's how you do it. The question asks us for the point slope form of the equation. So we're going to do, now that we have an m value, we're going to take one of the points. If they look the same, use the first point by default. So your point slope form is y minus y sub 1 is equal to m times x minus x sub 1. So y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. We're just going to fill in those values now that we have them. Your y sub 1 value is this value, negative 1. Since it says minus right here, we're going to put the opposite of whatever negative 1 is. It says negative 1, we're going to put positive 1. M value is the easiest one to fill in because it's exactly what this one is. We just put in right here 3. And then your x sub 1 is this value right here. Again, it's negative 1. And again, since this says minus, we're going to put the opposite of what that one says and put plus 1. So y plus 1 is equal to 3 times x plus 1. You did not have to make slope intercept out of it. That's good enough. Number 2 says find the slope of the line y equals mx plus b. M is the slope, negative 2 over 5 for that one. Number 3 is not in slope intercept form. You have to make it say y equals mx plus b. So in order to do that, we need to move over anything that's not y on this side. In this case, it's 4x. We want to move it to the other side. So since it's positive 4x, that's like plus 4x, you subtract it. So when you move it over, you're left with y on the left equals negative 4x, because when it was positive on the left, it became negative on the right, minus 7. Now it's in mx plus b form. This is your m value, negative 4. So your slope for that one is negative 4. Number 4 says find an equation for the line through negative 6, 7, perpendicular to y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 2. Y equals mx plus b. The only thing you're interested in with that equation, y equals negative 3 over 2x plus 2, is its slope value, its m value. It says it's perpendicular. Remember, perpendicular lines, 2 things happen to them with the slopes. They use the reciprocal, and they're the negative version of the reciprocal. This one's already negative, so you change its sign. When you flip it, it becomes 2 over 3, and when you change its negative sign, it becomes positive 2 over 3. So the line that's perpendicular to it has a slope of 2/3. Now you do it just like number 1. Y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. You just fill those values in. This is y sub 1 here. It's positive 7. We want the opposite of that, so we put negative 7. This is our m value we just found, 2/3. It goes in place of m. And then x sub 1 is this value here. It says negative 6, so we're going to put in positive 6. Y minus 7 equals 2/3 times x plus 6. Number 5, you're writing an equation through 8, negative 8, parallel to y equals 1 over 4x minus 2. Again, all we're interested in this equation is its slope value, 1/4. The other one was perpendicular, so it was the negative reciprocal. This one's parallel. Remember, parallel lines have the exact same slope. So our equation that we're going to write is going to have the same slope, m is 1/4. So the same thing, y minus y sub 1 equals m times x minus x sub 1. The m value is the first one you found real easy, 1/4. Okay. Then you're going to put the opposites of your x sub 1 and your y sub 1. Y sub 1's opposite is -8. Its opposite is +8. And x sub 1 is 8. Its opposite is -8. Y plus 8 equals 1/4 times x minus 8. Number 6 says to graph this one using intercepts. Okay. In order to use the intercepts, if we want to find the x-intercept, we're going to plug in 0 in place of that right there. So 4 times 0 is going to eliminate that. So what we're left with is 2x is equal to 10. When you divide by 2, the x-intercept is 5. You could do the same thing to find the y-intercept, except this time you're going to plug in 0 there. 2 times 0 is 0, so that eliminates that part. And it leaves you with 4y equals 10. When you divide by 4, y is going to equal 10 over 4. The number 2 goes into both of them, so y is equal to 5 over 2. So those are your x and y intercepts. So when we graph this one, our x value is going to be at 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. That's our x-intercept because this is the x-axis. And our y-intercept is at 5 over 2, which is 2.5. So at 1, 2, 3, our y-intercept, this one here, is at 2.5. So the point will be about right there. Once you have 2 points, you can draw yourself a straight line to graph it to make it look like that. Number 7 says graph the equation 2x minus y is equal to 4. You could do the same thing using the intercepts with this one. Or you can make it say y equals mx plus b. Okay. It's set up nice and neat to use the x and y intercepts for this one. So if you plug in 0 here, it cancels that out. So you're left with 2x equals 4. When you divide by 2, your x-intercept is 2. If you use the y-intercept, you're going to plug in 0 there. It's going to eliminate that. So you'll have negative y is equal to 4. When you divide by -1 on both sides, y-intercept's value is -4. So to graph that one, the x value is going to be at 2, and your y value is going to be at 1, 2, 3, -4. So the y-intercept is there. Your x-intercept is at 2. And when you draw your line through those 2 points, it looks like that. Again, if you use slope-intercept form for either version, for either 6 or 7, you came up with the same graph. Your intersections were just different, but you'll have the same picture for those. Number 8 tells you to find the slope through these 2 points. Remember, y sub 2 minus y sub 1. -10 minus a -2 means +2. That's -8. Over x sub 2 minus x sub 1. 3 minus a -8 means +8, which is 11. M's value is -8 over 11. Sure, you could use the slope formula if you need to, and label everything x sub 1, y sub 1, x sub 2, y sub 2, plug it in, and make sure you do minus a negative, which means plus a positive. And we're combining like terms. Remember, in order for it to be a like term, it has to have the same variable raised to the same exponent. So -5c and +3c, those are opposite signs, so subtract them. 5 minus 3 and you get 2c. 5 is the greater absolute value. It's negative, so it remains -2c. And 3d plus 5d, those are the same too. So 3 plus 5, those are the same signs. Add those up, and you get 8d. And since they're both positive, it's a positive 8d. -2c plus 8d. You have to distribute 2 first. Times 4y is 8y. And times -6 is -12 minus 2y. Then combine your like terms. Your like terms are 8y and -2y. Opposite signs, 8 and -2. Subtract them. 8 minus 2 is 6. y. 8 is the larger absolute value. It's positive, so it's going to be positive 6y minus 12. You can't put 6y and minus 12 together because they are not like terms, because 6 has a y, negative 12 does not. 11, we're solving this equation. It has variables on both sides. You want y to be by itself. Y equals, bring your smaller y over to your larger y. Collect your y's on the same side. Negative 9 is smaller than negative 3. So in order to move negative 9y over, you have to add 9y. If you add it there, you have to add it here. Negative 3y plus 9y, opposite signs, so subtract them. 9 minus 3 is 6y. And since 9 is the higher absolute value there, leave it as positive 6y. Since you brought your y's to the left side, since that was the smaller version brought over to the larger version, bring your constant term, negative 13, to the opposite side, or the right side in this case. It says minus 13. Undo that by adding 13. If you add it to the left, add it to the right. Negative 4 plus 13, again, opposite sign, subtract them. 13 minus 4 is going to be 9, and 13 is the higher absolute value, so it's a positive 9. Now we have one more step to do in this equation. It says 6 times y is equal to 9. You want to get y by itself, so if you need to ignore that side to do it, undo whatever 6 times something is. Divide by 6. If you divide the left by 6, divide the right by 6. Now we have y's value is equal to 9 over 6. We know the number 3 goes into 9 3 times, and it goes into 6 2 times. So y equals 3 halves. You need to distribute negative 6 first. Times y is negative 6y. Times 1 is negative 6. That's equal to y plus 5. Again, bring your smaller variable over to your larger variable side. We want to get y by itself. So add 6y. If you add it there, add it here. 1y plus 6y is going to be 7y. Bring your other term, your constant term, over to the other side. It says positive 5, so subtract 5. If you do it on the left, do the same on the right. Negative 6 minus 5, same signs, add them up. 6 plus 5 is 11. Keep that negative common sign, negative 11. Then get y by itself by dividing by 7 to undo 7 times y. If you do it to the left, do it to the right, and y is equal to negative 11 over 7. There is no number that goes into both 11 and 7. Number 13, we've seen this problem a bunch of times. You have to distribute 6 times x. 6 times negative 0.8, negative 4.8. Negative 0.2 times 5x, negative 1.0x. Negative times a negative is a negative 0.8, equals negative 1. Combine your like terms. 6x and negative 1x is 5x. Negative 4.8 and negative 0.8. I'm sorry. For this one, a negative 0.2 times a negative 0.4 is a positive 0.8. So when you combine negative 4.8 and positive 4.8, you get negative 4.0 is equal to negative 1. Undo your addition and subtraction first. Now you're trying to get x by itself. So undo minus 4 by adding 4 to both sides. 5x is left over is equal to negative 1 plus 4 is positive 3. And then get x by itself by dividing by 5. If you do it to the left, do it to the right. X is equal to 3/5. 2 is equal to x over 8 minus 2. Again, remember, to get x by itself, you undo your order of operations backwards. It says minus 2. Undo that by adding 2 to both sides. If you add it there, add it here. 2 plus 2 is 4 is equal to x over 8. Undo the over 8 part. That means divide by 8 by multiplying by 8. If you multiply the right by 8, multiply the left by 8. Times 4 is 32. That cancels out. X is equal to 32. Number 15, 5 plus 8n is equal to 53. N equals all by itself. Undo addition and subtraction. Positive 5, subtract it. Do it here. You have 8n left over. 53 minus 5. 13 minus 5 is 8. And then you had to borrow 1, so it's 48. Undo 8 times n by dividing by 8. You do it to the left, do it to the right. 48 divided by 8 is 6. You have to distribute first. 5 times y and 5 times 4. Undo your order of operations backwards to get y by itself. Undo plus 21st by subtracting it. You're left with 5y on the left. 65 minus 20 is 45. Get y by itself now by dividing by 4 to cancel out. Multiply by, I said 4, multiply by 5. Divide this side by 5 as well. 45 divided by 5 is 9. Simplify this one. Negative 5 plus 4 squared times 4 minus 2 cubed. Inside parentheses, first exponents, even first before that. Negative 5 plus 4 squared is 16. Still in parentheses. 4 minus 2 is 2 cubed. 2 cubed, or what's in parentheses next, negative 5 plus 16 is 11 times 2 cubed is going to be 2 times 2 is 4 times 2 is 8. 11 times 8 is 88. Make a mapping diagram of this relation. Remember, a mapping diagram, all of your x values on the right, all of your y values, I said all your x values on the left, on the right, all your x values on the left. In numerical order, negative 1, 0, 3, and 5. Your y values on the right, again, in numerical order, negative 4, negative 2, 1, and 5. Your relations are the ones that go together. Negative 1 goes with negative 2. 0 goes with negative 4. 3 goes with 1, and 5 goes with 5. There's a mapping diagram for that relation. For f of x equals 2x plus 3, find f of 2. So in place of x, we're plugging in 2. F of 2 equals 2 times 2 plus 3. Multiplication happens first. 2 times 2 is 4 plus 3. So 4f of 2 equals 4 plus 3, which is 7. You don't try to undo f times 2 by dividing by 2. That's just saying f of 2. Number 20 says 4f of x equals 4x minus 2, and g of x equals negative 2x plus 1. Find f of 1 divided by g of 3. So again, in place of f of x, we're going to plug in 1. So f of 1 equals 4 times 1 minus 2. Multiplication happens first. 4 times 1 is 4 minus 2. F of 1 is equal to 4 minus 2, which is 2. Do the same thing with g of 3. For g of 3 equals negative 2 in place of x times 3 plus 1. Multiplication happens first. Negative 2 times 3 is negative 6 plus 1. So g of 3 is negative 5. So we have that value. It says to divide those by each other. F of 1 is on top. 2 divided by g of 3 is on the bottom, negative 5. So negative 2/5 is your answer for that one. Number 21 says to graph the equation y is equal to negative 4/5 x plus 3. This is in y equals mx plus b, or slope-intercept form. You're going to graph it on a plane. B tells you where to begin. It's on the y-axis. Since it's your intercept at 1, 2, 3, positive 3 is where you start or where you begin. Your m is your slope. It tells you where to move. Remember, m is your rise over your run or your directions. Negative 4, since it tells you up or down, since it's negative, tells you to go down 4. So down 1, 2, 3, one more, 4, and over 5, it's positive 5, so it tells you to go to the right 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 times. You put your second point down 4 and to the right 5 times. Once you have 2 points, you can draw a straight line through those 2 points, and your graph will look like that. Number 22, simple problems tell you to simplify. 5 plus a negative 8 plus a negative 8, minus a negative 8 means plus a positive 8, which simplifies to 13. 7 times a negative 2, a positive times a negative is a negative. Opposite signs is 14. And then 30 divided by 5, same signs, is going to be positive 6. Remember, if there is one or if there's an odd amount of negative values, it's going to be negative. If there's an even amount, it's going to be positive. 25 tells you to divide these fractions. 3/5 divided by 5 over 15. 3/5 remains the same. Division becomes multiplication, and you multiply by the reciprocal. 5 over 15 becomes 15 over 5. You can cross cancel to make smaller numbers. The number 5 goes into both 5 and 15. It goes into itself once, and it goes into 15 3 times. Now we're just dealing with smaller numbers. 3 times 3 is 9, and 1 times 5 is 5. 9/5 is a reduced version of an improper fraction. 26 says to evaluate x plus 6 times x minus 8 for x is equal to 9. That means in place of x, we're going to dump in or sub in 9 plus 7 and 9 minus 8. Both of those are inside of parentheses. So before you do the multiplication, you have to do 9 plus 7, which is 16, times 9 minus 8, which is 1. 16 is your simplified version when you evaluate x equals 9. 27, 8, and 9, you're just naming the properties. Look at how it looks on the left side of the equal sign and then how it looks on the right side. It says 4 times parentheses x plus 4 or grouping symbol. Then it becomes 4x plus 16. That is the distributive property. Look at how it looks again on the left side and the right side. The numbers, on this case, there's a variable in a number, or pi, something that represents something beyond a variable. Pi plus 13 is equal to 13 plus pi. The only thing that's different on one side or the other is that the numbers move or they commute. So this is the commutative property. And we've started talking about division and multiplication. This is just the commutative property since it's addition in the middle of addition. 0.5 times 1 is equal to 0.5. Again, look at it on the left side and the right side. It's 0.5 when it starts, and it's 0.5 when it finishes. It multiplies times 1, but its identity does not change. It remains 0.5. So this is the identity property. And again, this says multiplication, so it would be of multiplication.